name is Clement Pepe. I'm a success coach. Talk that we're going to talk about today is what I call time priority management. And that's so important. Time management is important, but yet if we're not prioritizing the most important things we need to do, it isn't as important. So I think it's time/priority. So I'm going to teach you something today in relationship to how you can be more effective in your time priority management. And if you're interested in that, just, put a little wave on there, or let me know that you're interested in it, and so on. I would presume if you're here, you must be interested in it, because that's what we've been advertising. So first of all, in order to start on this process that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to tell you a little story. And the story goes something like this. Back in the early 1900s, and it's interesting too, because I've heard this story a couple of different ways with a couple of different characters in the story. But I'm going to tell it to you with those characters, and it doesn't really much matter about the story, it matters about the tool, but the story kind of teased it up. So in the early 1920s, there was a fellow named Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie had a steel company, and he was doing okay, but he wasn't breaking any records, but he was doing okay. But he got a visit from and I heard that it was a woman. Sometimes they'd say it was a man, but whatever it was a person who said that Carnegie, and by the way, some say it was Charles Schwab that this person visited, but again, doesn't matter about who, it matters more about what happened. So they came to this person and said to them, I want to spend about 15 minutes with each one of your managers, and I want to teach them this tool that we're going to talk about here today. And then I want to have you use that tool, have these people use that tool for the next 3 months. And he said, okay, by the way, you don't need to pay me anything for this. Just at the end of the 3 months, go ahead and send me a check for whatever you think it's worth. So Carnegie or Schwab, either one, wasn't any fool. They said, yeah, have at it. And so she or he did. And then what happened at the end of 3 months, they sent her, one of those two, sent her a check for $35,000. Now I heard the other story said $25,000, but again, either way, that's a lot of money back in the early 20s. It'd probably be worth more like $250,000, $350,000 today. And where I rediscovered this story, and this one I can really validate because it came out of an autobiography I read of a woman who started this little makeup company. You may not have heard of her, but her name was Mary Kay Ash, and she started Mary Kay Cosmetics. And Mary Kay, in her autobiography, said that she used this tool every day of her working life. And so those people that we talked about, Andrew Carnegie, Charles Schwab, they were the richest people in the world. And at one point, Mary Kay Ash had the largest organization in the world. And they were using this tool every day of their working lives. So I thought, well, if that's the model that we can take after, I think it's a good idea. And so this is an opportunity to really share this with you. Now, again, we're going to go through this quickly. I teach this to my clients and have been for many, many years, but it takes a little bit longer than we're going to spend today. So I would recommend, and I recommend this anytime you're listening to anyone that you feel you could gather information from, take notes. Take a lot of notes. You can't OD on taking notes. Okay? So take those notes and then jot them down, and then you're going to get a chance to put this into practice when we leave. That's the thing I want to do every time that we're together on these talks, is that when you leave the talk, that you're leaving with a tool to start working with right then. Not that you have to wait and travel and study and do all these other things. I want you to have a tool that you use going forward. And that's the good news about these videos. And the good news about what is that I teach my clients and my other coaches is that I believe in not only telling people what to do, but telling them how to do it. Because I think we all know what to do. but the how is so important. So we're going to now share this technique with you, and now you'll have the how. You'll be able to put this into practice moment to moment to moment. So this is a 4-step process that we're going to do. And we'll go through the steps, and then we'll go back over it and reiterate why we're doing it this way, and so on and so forth. So the first step is the day before, you're going to make a list of 6, and only 6, of the most important things you need to do the next day toward your financial goals. Now, imagine that most of you are in some sort of a business or sales or doing something for a living, etc. So this is what we're going to use this for. Now, you can use it for a lot of different areas, but right now we're going to talk about it in enhancing your income. So you list 6 of the most important things you need to do the day before you're listing now, and we'll go over why the day before in a moment. But you're listing 6 of those most important things you need to do the next day toward your income goal. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you then prioritize those 6, 1 through 6. Now, 1 may be in the middle of that list, 2 may be on the top, 3 may be on the bottom, but you're going to list them. And the priority is basically, and this is how you can really exceed the amount of income you're making now and not really doing much more of as far as time is concerned, is that you want to make number 1 the most productive of that 6. So if you've got a situation where you can make a $10,000 commission on a call, or you can make a $2,000 commission on a call, put the $10,000 commission first, you said. And so you're creating that list based on what the priorities are and what the payoff is going to be on those priorities. So you list it first, 6 things the day before, and then you prioritize them 1 through 6, being, and like I said, 1 could be in the middle, 2 could be on the bottom of that list, but you're prioritizing in relationship to what's the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. And then step number 3, and this is, I mean, they're all important, but this one here is, I think, right up there, is that you then calendar these activities as appointments. So it's not a list anymore. Now you're putting them into your calendar. And if you're not using an electronic calendar, you really should be. But if you're not, put them on a written calendar. However you're doing your calendaring, put those in. So if you say, I'm going to call John Jones to, cement that deal or make that appointment, then look at your calendar and see, okay, so I've got this meeting here. So, okay, 10:30, call John Jones. All right. So you make it as an appointment. Not as a big list of things to do, but an appointment. So and if you're on this call, for example, on this training, then it started at noon Pacific time. So if you were doing this right, you probably had it on your calendar. Be on the video at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And so if you'd have said, geez, I'd like to watch that video sometime today, you may watch it or you may not. But when you have it scheduled as an appointment, you're going to be there. And you do this right, these 6 items, you do it right. These will be the most important appointments you're going to have toward your day, because they're going to help you get to that destination you have of your goal, whatever your financial goal is. Okay. So step number 1, you list the 6 items, the most important things you need to do the next day in regards to your income goals. Step number 2, you prioritize them 1 through 6, 1 being most important, productive wise, 2 being second, etc., etc. Step number 3, you calendar them as appointments. Now, step number 4, it's a very simple step, but yet a lot of people lose this step. You do them as calendared. So it doesn't become, you get to that, and you go, I don't know if I want to do that or not. It's like, no, it's an appointment. You do it. And so you get yourself in the habit. It's almost like if you had an appointment to go write a contract or whatever it is that you do out there, and it was going to give you a check for $10,000 or something, you probably wouldn't get to it and say, geez, maybe I'll go, maybe you'll be there. And it's the same with these appointments that you have listed. Then you're going to be there because it's going to be an appointment, not a big list that you could do or not do. Okay? So those are the 4 steps. Now, A couple things I want to say about that. Now, we said to do it the day before. Now, what I do with my calendar, and I've been using this method for years and years and years now. Again, I thought, richest man in the world, the biggest organization in the world, must be something good that's coming out of this. So, of course, I'm doing it. But what I do is I put it in my calendar to remind myself to list it. And by the way, what we call these 6 items are 6 must-dos. These are not to-dos anymore. These are must-dos. And I don't mean must-do like pressure, but I mean must-do like we need to get these things done in order to get to this destination. It's almost like if you were going to take a flight from Los Angeles, we'll say, to New York. There's certain things you must do to get to New York. You must get your tickets. You must get to the airport on time. You must get on the right plane, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those things you must do in order to get to your destination called New York. Well, it's the same thing with these. If we've got goals, we've got desires, we've got things we want to create. There's certain things we must do to get there. So these 6 are your 6 must-dos. Now, the reason we do it the day before rather than the day of, a couple of reasons. One is that when you've listed these 6 items and you're going to bed at night, your subconscious mind doesn't sleep. It's awake all night long. And so it's working on these items if you put them to where it is that you wrote them down, et cetera, et cetera. And again, another very important aspect of this, when you get up in the morning and you've listed these things there, you're hitting the road running. You're not starting from a dead stop. You're hitting the road running. And then what happens is that you're moving with velocity. It's almost like a relay race. You know, the relay race where they have the baton and they pass the baton to the person in the place where they're going to start running themselves. They don't just stand there waiting for the baton. They're running as fast as they can in their allotted time or their place, so that when the guy hands it or gal hands it off to them, they're just moving. They don't start from a dead stop. It's the same for us in the morning. We want to get up and really hit the road running rather than start from a dead stop. And that's the reason for doing it the day before. Now, let's say though you forget for whatever reason to do it the day before, then do it the morning of. Don't not do it. Because again, this is a way that you're going to be really making sure that your time and your energy and your activity are all going toward the intended goals that you have. So do it the morning of if you forget, but have that be the exception to the rule, the morning of. Have the rule be, I do it the day before. And then another thing that might happen in this process, a couple of things might happen. Let's say that you're working on must-do number 4, we'll say, and you just completed that, and you're ready to go on to must-do number 5. And you get an emergency that may come up. You get a call, you say you have to do this or that. And by the way, an emergency isn't checking eBay to see if your bicycle's sold. That's not an emergency. But let's say you do have a certain emergency that's going to get in the way of your income potential, etc. Then what you do is you put away must-do number 5, the one you were going to start working on, and then you start working on the emergency. But once the emergency is complete, what you need to do is stop that and then look at where you were on number 5 and then start out at number 5. So you're moving from where you were to where you need to be so that you're continuing on toward the destination called the 6 must-dos completed that day. It's almost like if you're, I don't know how many people remember the old Thomas guides. We used to have, for your younger generation, we used to have these books that were actually maps. We had to read them. Imagine that, turn pages and all that stuff. But if you were following one of those maps, let's say, and you were had a destination, let's say you want to you're in New York, you want to go to Florida, we'll say, then, there's certain things that you need to take in the road that you need to take to get to Florida. But let's say there's a detour along the way. They're working on the road or something like that. So you have to get off the road that you were intended to go on. But what you want to do is get back on that road as soon as you can so that you can get to your intended destination called Florida. You don't want to get on a detour and go, oh, I wonder what's over there. Ooh, the biggest ball of twine ever, or whatever. And you never get to Florida. So that's the same with here. You have to maybe take a little detour to handle the different aspects of what the road stuff is like, or in this case, the emergencies. And then, though, you have to get back on that track so you can get to the end of that session that we've talked about. Now, the other thing that might occur is, let's say you end up the day and you've completed only 4 of the must-dos, and then you've got a meeting and you have to get there. So what you want to do is you take the 2 that you didn't complete and then add 4 more to that list for the next day. And then you start the process all over again. You make that list, you prioritize them 1 through 6, you calendar them as appointments, and you do them as scheduled. And so that's a constant that you want to do that. So, and all of those things now, you're going to have to trust yourself in a couple of areas with this. Once you make that 6 list that you're doing, the 6 items that are the most important to do the next day, trust yourself that those are the most important 6 that you need to do. Don't start second guessing yourself, etc. I know you never do that, but some people do that. And or let's say you prioritize them 1 through 6, then trust yourself that those are the order you need to do them. Don't start going, well, maybe 1 ought to be 2, or 2 ought to be 3, or whatever. You ever heard that? What is it called? Paralysis by analysis, I think it's called. So it's definitely would do that, because now we're just trust yourself. You'll make it happen. But what the key is, all of this is to get in the practice of doing this. Now I have a form that I send my clients. It can list the 6 must-dos on it. It can do all the things we've talked about, 6 spaces there, put your goals there, your priorities, and so on. Now, if you're interested in this form, just go ahead and put a comment in and your email, and I'll get an email out to you. And it's a Word document. So what you can do is put it into your saved Word documents, and then you can print out 5 of them a week. That's what I usually do. I have 5 a week. And again, I wouldn't know how to do a day without this anymore, because it becomes such a habit. And it's the same with you. It's that as you leave this meeting today, I want you to get in the habit of doing this. And have you ever heard that statement? It takes 30 days to create a habit. That's a fact. It's not like a nice bumper sticker that goes somewhere. That's how the mind works. And so we want to start practicing these tools that you're going to get here for 30 days straight. And then, so it becomes in at a time, it's a very, very, very difficult thing not to do the habit. That's the interesting thing about habits. Once you first start a habit, it's difficult to do it. You haven't been doing it before. Once you've done it long enough, usually about 30 days, it's difficult not to do it. And that's what we want to create here. We want to have you making those habits so that they're taking you toward where you want to go, rather than creating those habits so they're slowing you down or moving you away from what you want to do. You see? So I want to leave you with this: practice, practice, practice. That's how they say to get to Carnegie Hall. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you master your time priority management using these tools? Practice, practice, practice. And as I mentioned before, when we first started, I want you to listen here from that place of possibility, and then go out and try this on, see if it fits. So try this on. Try it for the next 30 days. If you don't like it, send it back. I'll take it back. No questions asked. If you do like it, you keep it for the rest of your life. Okay? So again, if this was of value to you, go ahead and like the video, or you want to make a comment, let me know what you think, or share it with others. If you feel that this is something that could help other people, and I don't see why it couldn't, then it's like anything. We have to use it, though, or it won't help anybody. But once they use it, if you feel this is good for them, go ahead and share it. And if you know someone who was thinking about or wanted to get out of their career they're in, or to supplement their income, let them know about the Power Technology Coaching Academy. I'm creating life coaches all over the country, really. So this is an opportunity for someone to take on a new career through the academy. And if you're interested in it, you can go to ptcoachingacademy.com. ptcoachingacademy.com tells you all the information and so on. And so, again, thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to share what I know and send it out into the world. And this is another opportunity that I really cherish to do. So thank you much. And until next time, live the life you love and love the life you live.